And perhaps that will at least trigger some curiosity in people so that they start looking into this existential threat to humanity. If so, then, well, glad you could join me for today's exploration. It's a particularly important one. And if you are not familiar with the term of biodigital convergence, then I would wholeheartedly suggest you check into some of my recent work on this topic, where I've been talking about an important document called Exploring Biodigital Convergence by a Government of Canada affiliated institution called Policy Horizons Canada. And I've talked about this a couple of times. I've mentioned it in several interviews now, and I have most notably covered it in my article on the subject, Biodigital Convergence Bombshell Document Reveals the True Agenda. So I will direct your attention there if you haven't yet read that exploration. And I am going to go through that document today because, again, I tend to think this is perhaps the most important issue facing humanity at this time. But please hang on with me, even if you have already encountered this, read my article, seen the source document itself. Please hang on, because today I'm going to go through it and flesh out some of the missing context of this document, provide extra details, and see how it connects into an entire body of scientific thought and literature that has existed before this document came together. So we will be getting into much greater detail today, but I guess to set the table for people who are not familiar with this at all, we, I suppose, should at least understand something about this document in particular, Exploring Biodigital Convergence, and this Policy Horizons Canada from which it is coming. And if you are like pretty much every other Canadian on the planet, let alone every person on the planet, you will never have heard of Policy Horizons Canada. So going to their About Us page on their website, you can learn that we are a federal government organization that conducts foresight. Our mandate is to help the Government of Canada develop future-oriented policy and programs that are more robust and resilient in the face of disruptive change on the horizon. To fulfill our mandate, we analyze the emerging policy landscape, the challenges that lie ahead, and the opportunities opening up. Engage in conversations with public servants and citizens about forward-looking research to inform their understanding and decision-making, and build foresight literacy and capacity across the public service. We produce content that may attract academic, public, and international attention, and do not publish commentary on policy decisions of the government. Blah, blah, blah. You can continue reading that type of blather on their site, and you can read about their history and how they developed from the Policy Research Secretariat in the Privy Council office in 1996 and onwards, how they morphed into various forms before assuming their final form, presumably, of Policy Horizons Canada. But for the purposes of today, we are specifically concerned about a paper that they released in February of 2020 that obviously was being prepared before that point, namely, Exploring Biodigital Convergence. And I will note that I think it is important to note that this paper was released before the true COVID pandemonium really kicked off, at least in the West, and obviously was written, prepared, researched, thought about well in advance of this current crisis that we are living through. So it is extremely interesting in that context, given what it is talking about and the types of things that it's mentioning. So what is this document? What does it talk about? What themes, what ideas, what does it swirl around? What is the main gist of this article? Well, luckily, you don't have to listen to my summarization of it. We can take it directly from the horse's mouth. That's right, Policy Horizons Canada. Of course, they have a GooTube channel on which, I guess to announce the release of this document, they released this handy-dandy guide to the document and what it is talking about. So, without further ado, I present to you unedited Exploring Biodigital Convergence, the video from Policy Horizons Canada. This should clear up any questions. And yet again, I am compelled to note that, no, I didn't make that up. That is literally the video that Policy Horizons Canada posted to their official YouTube page in conjunction with the release of this report. Yes, that is the Exploring Biodigital Convergence video that was released to announce this report, I suppose. If you are driving around or engaged in your daily activities listening to the audio version of this podcast, I will recommend that you go to corbettreport.com/convergence later on when you're at your device in order to look in the show notes and look up that video just so you can see how ridiculous that is, as whatever that is intended to be. I guess that will announce this report to the world with those trumpet blasts as if from the heavens. Anyway, in true Government of Canada style, don't worry, the Francophones are not left out of this. There is a French version of that video that is also available from the Policy Horizons Canada YouTube page. So if you're a French speaker that was confused by that video, don't worry. They've made one just for you as well. Although I am a bit disheartened to note that as at the time that I am recording this podcast, there is only 0 thumbs up and 18 thumbs down on that video that has now over 1,000 views, probably most of which have occurred in the past few weeks, as people like myself and a few others in the independent media have pointed to this report. But we can do better than that, can't we, Corbett gang? Anyway, so let's get into taking place and who and what is behind it.